Right now, we're going to welcome in Kevin Minnick of SJVarsity.com, get his thoughts on the high school football playoffs. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, Sully, how are you?
Pretty good, man. Sorry about the late call there. McGarry must have been 3 Diet Cokes in. He was going off on a tangent there.
Well, it happens every week. I'm used to it. No big deal. I've tried to get McGarry to get off the Diet Coke and go with the Coke no sugar. So, I think that maybe that's part of the process. I don't know.
He was fired up today, man. He was coming off that trip to L.A. last weekend.
Yeah, he got a chance to go out and see his son, and then out in college and catch a game. So it doesn't get pretty much don't get better than that.
Kev, you ever been to like a real big time college football game?
Yeah. You got to go back in the day. Back when I was in college, which was a little while ago. But when I was in school, there was a year Maryland was pretty good, and I remember some big games. I mean, I remember a Maryland game at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore against the University of Miami when Vinny Testaverde was there, and Alonzo Smith and Jerome Brown. So, yeah, I saw my fair share of games. Haven't seen too many lately, but I have seen a few.
I keep telling my brother one of these years we're going to make it to the Army-Navy game. That's got to be an awesome event. I've never been to that.
No, neither have I. But a lot of people have talked about that, and it's more of the I guess the spectacle of watching everybody march in and fill the stadium that I guess is probably the highlight of the day for everybody.
I'll tell you what, not an easy ticket to get. I was looking online, I think in the summertime, to see what kind of cost it might be. You're looking at, $500 to $800 to go to that game.
Well, at that point, then we're watching it on TV.
So give us your impressions, Kevin, of last night. Some crazy upsets and a lot of interesting games here in the first round as pretty much all 5 groups got started. Some of the games will be played today. But what jumped out at you last night? For whatever reason, I have a bad phone, but I lost my phone in this cold weather to the dead battery. So I was relying on some other people for some scores, and throughout the night there was some strange things, at least in my mind, that had popped up. But if you kind of look down the list, and in 5 to see Millville have to go to overtime to beat Williamstown, that was a shocker to me. To see. In all honesty, I thought Lenape was going to beat Vineland, but by 35-0, I don't think I saw that, and I don't think a lot of people did either. And that just shows just how good Lenape really is. If there were doubters out there still at this point, you look at Group 4, top seed Morristown slips by Pennsauken by 3 points, and then the bottom half of that bracket, you got a 6 seed in Hamilton that goes on the road, a team that really hasn't played very well, in all honesty, in the last six games or so, and beats a Central team 21-6. And the other part of that bracket, Highland goes up to Burlington Township. Burlington Township being a 2 seed, not playing too bad, and Highland kind of a little bit up and down, I would say, during the course of the year. Highland goes up and beats them 41-0. So you're going to have 2 teams there in Hamilton or Highland. One of those teams is playing for a sectional championship, and I don't think anybody saw that. You look in Group 3, the 2 games that were played last night, obviously Timber Creek, once they stepped on the pedal, they kind of pulled away from Seneca, and the same goes for Delsey and Ocean City, with Delsey kind of pulling away too. But other than that, I think in Group 2, 2 surprises to me. I thought it's obviously difficult to beat a team twice in one season, but Haddonfield found a way to do that at Sterling, and Cinnaminson goes on the road and wins at Camden. So there were a handful of games, like I said, out there that I think in retrospect were a little surprising, and other games that were maybe closer than expected, and then a couple that were easily taken care of. So it's high school football. Kids make mistakes. Kids do this, do that, and the other. But all in all, I think the playoffs are off to a tremendous start, and we'll see who really brings it next week and the games that are today. Kevin, how surprised were you at the Cinnaminson win over Camden? I mean, Camden's a pretty good team. They really kind of had their way with Cedar Creek early in the season. Had some pretty big wins this year, and they're always a tough team to beat at their home stadium there. How big of a win is that for Cinnaminson? That's obviously, if you win a playoff game, that's huge to start with. But Cinnaminson had come in, a little bit under the radar for a team that had won 5 straight. And, I think maybe a few people may have underestimated them. They come in as a 7 seed, and Camden had been playing extremely well. I believe they had won 6 in a row and had been, like you said, knocked off a couple of really decent teams along the way. But Cinnaminson comes in. They've got a very good ground game with Rashad Raymond. He goes over 100 yards again, a couple touchdowns, and boom, there you go. Cinnaminson's got itself, into the semifinals. So I kind of thought Camden would win that game, but I'm not shocked that Cinnaminson was able to pull it out.
Talking with Kevin Minnick of SJvarsity.com, and Kevin, one thing that really stood out to me was how many points were scored in some of these games. You wouldn't think that in a night where it's 25 degrees and cold and windy and that kind of thing, but looking at some of these scores, I mean, Delsey puts up 56. Timber Creek put up, 62? Like you said, Lenape 35. Howell puts up 31. So a lot of West Deptford 51 points. I was just kind of surprised at how many points were scored in some of these first-round games.
Yeah, and you throw Shawnee's 41 in there, Highland's 41 in there. I think what you look at is, on a night like last night where it was cold and it was windy, running the football, it gets it done. And running the football is, only bad things usually happen when you put the ball in the air in a playoff situation, if that's not what your MO is. And aside from Timber Creek, which, that's the way that they play, no matter what the weather's like, they're going to throw the ball more than they're going to run it. But these other teams, you look at, they run the football. Lenape runs the ball. West Deptford runs the ball. Highland runs the ball. These teams that are the most successful teams, in my opinion, aside from Timber Creek, are the teams that keep the ball on the ground. They take time off the clock, and they just put together sustain these drives, or in these guys' cases, putting up a lot of points. Maybe they didn't have long drives. Maybe they just took care of business real quick. But, I think that's a big key in the playoffs, is being able to keep the ball on the ground and be effective. And that's what these teams have done.
Kevin, you got to feel good for Gateway, first playoff victory in school history. I mean, this is a team that for years was just 0 wins, 1 win, 2 win, one of those teams where you go in there and you're pretty much expected to come away with a win. And here they are, they come in 7-1, so they're 8-1 now. With a 28-8 win over Woodstown. That's got to be a cool thing to be a part of that program and get that first playoff win in school history.
Yeah, I was at that game last night, and, I think if the weather had been a little bit better, there would have been a few more people there. But they had a very nice crowd there last night. There's tremendous support, and there's the enthusiasm throughout the team, in the players and the coaches and the kids and all there is just it's night and day to what it used to be. And you're absolutely right. There was a run before Josh Mason got there 4 years ago. Gateway football was at the bottom of the barrel, and you could look at the schedule and you could pencil it in, and you don't really want to do that. You want to play the games, but the fact is that's what happened. Gateway was not a team to reckon with for a long, long time, and Josh Mason came in kind of. It took a little while because he lost his first 6 games, but, they started to turn things around. He started to see some things develop, some things happen, and these kids started to buy into what he wanted to get done, and they do a real nice job. Pete Getz, former Triton coach, a Gateway grad himself, helps out over there on the defense, and, they go after it. And even in talking to Josh Mason after the game, no one is expecting Gateway to go out and beat a Shawnee, to go out and beat a West Deptford, or to compete with a bigger school. But when you look at Gateway for what it is, a Group 1 program, and they're going to play Group 1 teams, and they're going to compete in the Group 1 tournament. Take it for what it is. They're a competitive team now. They are a competitive program that hopefully does not take a step back, and hopefully they continue to take strides forward. People will say, well, they don't play anybody, they're not that good, whatever. But yeah, if you put it in perspective and you put it in for what it is, like I said, a Group 1 program at that level, hey, they've done a tremendous job in the last couple of years turning things around. There's a renewed enthusiasm. There's more kids on the field. And, those kids that are on that team right now aren't bad. they've got some kids on that team that are physical kids. They got some kids on that team that run the football with authority, and and they're not afraid to kind of jump around and really, to a point, get in your face. So it's a whole different ball game at Gateway now. And when you watch a team or a program down for as long as Gateway's been down, you really have to give the coach a lot of credit, give the kids a lot of credit, and it's nice to see that somebody can turn things around the way he has.
We're talking with Kevin Minnick of SJVarsity.com, and Kevin, going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here. You ready?
All right, here we go.
Kind of wanted to just dive into your experience, get your opinion on this. Obviously, we respect how much you've done in your career, been there, doing it for 15, 20 years. What does it take for football teams to turn their programs around, like a Coach Mason over at Gateway or a Coach Sacco over in Pleasantville? Have you seen any kind of common denominators of what it takes to get a team that's basically, a winless or a 1 or 2 win team every year to now become a playoff contender? Because we're starting to see that in a couple programs.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is you have to have, I think it starts at the top, and you got to have a coach who's willing to come in and realize, I think, it's not going to happen overnight, and it may take 2 or 3 or 4 years to really see things start to turn. You can't expect a team that has been down for as long as teams like those have been down to flip a switch and automatically now go from 0-10 or 1-9 to an 8-1 team or a team that's going to play for a title. That might happen here and there, not very often at all. But I think it starts at the top. You've got to get a guy in there who is truly dedicated to wanting to turn things around and isn't one that's going to get in there and 3 weeks later think to himself, oh no, what did I kind of get myself into? If you got a guy who's dedicated, who puts the effort in, and the kids see that, and the kids see that this guy's not going to bail on them, that this guy's there for them, then the kids start to believe. And now all of a sudden, X, Y, and Z turns into A, B, C, D, E, and F. We go from a handful of kids, okay, I understand, I want to be part of the program, to now, okay, well, they've talked to other kids in the hallways. You should see what the coach is doing. This is what we're doing. You got to come out and play. And they start to build things. And there's communities that have feeder programs that see this too. And the coaches get out and they're involved with the feeder programs. And these kids want to stay in their hometowns, or they want to play for their home team. And all of a sudden, the whole attitude and the whole culture changes. A perfect example is Lamont Robinson at Washington Township. I didn't expect the Minutemen to knock doors over this year. I expected them to be an improved football team, but maybe not necessarily, win a ton of games. But that's what Lamont's done. He's developed a culture over there where now the foundation has been built. And I think a lot of coaches that come into programs that have struggled like that start to build a foundation, take the steps, and try to make people understand it's not going to happen overnight. Give me a chance. Do what I ask you to do. Be involved. Don't take losses to heart so much, and then we'll see what happens. And obviously, I think that has happened for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I think it goes a long way when you can get the parents on board. When you're talking about high school kids, a lot of times they might think, this coach doesn't know what he's doing, I'm not starting, this and that. They might go home and complain to their parents. But when you have a dad or a mom that says, hey, this guy is a good coach, he's doing what's good for the team, you stick your nose in there and do your part. You know what I mean? That can go a long way.
Yeah, if you have if you have the support of the parents and you're not listening to the screaming and the yelling coming from the stands, and you have that kind of support, win or lose, it's only going to benefit. And like I said, I think starting out and building a foundation, from the bottom up is what it takes to win, and that's what a lot of these programs are starting to do.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We appreciate it. Keep that notebook handy. We're going to have a lot more to talk about next week, buddy.
Absolutely. We'll be ready for you. Don't worry. We'll be ready.
All right. As always. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Have a great day.
That was Kevin Minnick of SJVarsity.com.